This is the Titan Fitness PWR1-PWR2. I guess that's Power 1, Power 2. Bought in 2015. It's 2021 now, so it's been about 6 years. This came with the rack and then 2 dip bars, the safeties. What I really liked about this unit at the time was mostly the hole spacing. Compared to a lot of the other options out there at the time, it was pretty close. That way when you're doing bench pressing, that spacing does make a difference. Some of the competitors, I believe, had 3 inches or more between the holes. So I like that about this rack. The biggest complaint people had was at 135 pounds, it might be kind of flimsy. So you do see some wobble. This has survived one move. I remember that unscrewing these bolts and rescrewing them, it was kind of a pain. But then again, at the time, I didn't have the tools I had today. I didn't have any power tools, so I did this all with a socket wrench. See some dimpling of the metal. They have that little, what's the thing on the bar? Knurling. They have knurling on the bars that were really sharp to the point where it actually cuts you. So I just took some tape, some felt tape, and wrapped it around so that when I'm doing pull-ups, I don't get cut. The bar I decided to pair it with is the black oxide bar from Rogue. There is a layer of oil on here. Was it the 3-in-1? I have that right here. No rust whatsoever. Of course they'll have some scratches. But I wish I would have bought this sooner. I originally started out with one of those Sears bars. They actually weren't 45 pounds. It was more like 37. So it's one of those things where you get what you pay for. But yeah, you'll have this typical wear, especially where the safety bars go through all the time. You'll see some nicking of the paint. But there's not really a lot of rust that I see, at least. It's definitely kept up really well. Yeah, I mean, just typical metal on metal contact. You're gonna have some rubbing, some scuffs, but that's all normal. Some other features I really liked about this rack was the front to back clearance. You had plenty of space to squat inside, overhead press, pretty much anything you wanted to do. Likewise, the height was good. I got the one that was a little bit shorter so that it will fit within the 8-foot ceiling. I believe they have even shorter ones now. An important point to note is that I am on carpet, so if it's not exactly level, you won't notice it. But my old townhouse where I had tile, there was some wobble. It didn't really affect anything, but I guess that's one of those compromises you have to make. I paid around $350 for the rack. At the time, that was considered pretty cheap. For homeowner use, I think it's perfect. Can't really ask any more from it. And I would highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for one. These plate holders are actually from Amazon, and I got these for free with Amazon reward points, so that was nice. Something else I wish I knew about in the beginning was the size of these 45 plates. I didn't realize that most department stores, they're not the full size. So for those of you doing starting strength, strong lifts, where you have to do deadlifts, I wasn't aware, but this one I believe is like 15 inches in diameter. This is the typical 17.7. You would think that it doesn't make a big difference, but ask anyone who has had a back injury. I would just do it right from the start. At least you'll have some consistency, you know. Let me show you what I did. I'll get a setup here. I actually used those dip bars. This is for those who are starting out. You can use those dip bars here and lift the bar up high enough so that it matches the height of a 45-pound plate. I'll show you that right now. So here it is. I used the dip handlebars to hold the barbell on the ground. By doing this, you get the bar height about center of a standard 45-pound plate. This is good for loading the big plates on, but especially good if you're just starting out, learning how to deadlift, and the smaller plates, you need some compensation off the ground, because if you just leave it on the ground, you're going to be deadlifting from too low. So you just find on the correct hole. The J hook actually puts a little bit too low. That's why I'm using the dip handle. Speaking of holes, I'm sure a lot of people do this, but since a lot of people are using the rack, I usually have a notepad stating what hole I use for which exercise. Then I just count down from the top or the bottom. Because if you take a lot of breaks like I do, because I'm lazy, you come back a few months later, you can't really remember, oh hey, where did I put the spots, you know, which pin or which hole. So it's good to document that. It saves a lot of headache trying to figure things out.